Ashok Miranda, founder and business transformation architect, transform and transcend, to share with us on the topic of transforming your company culture for the gig economy. So ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big hand to welcome Mr. Miranda, please. Welcome. Hey, thank you.
Just very quickly, show of hands, how many of you own your own business here in the audience? It's good, about 30%. How many of you are full-time workers? Work full-time for companies? Okay. And how many of you are gig workers? Part-time? Work part-time? Oh, okay. Kind of matches the full-time workers. All right, so I've created something very special here for you today. I think it's important. We're at a very interesting time. I think the speakers alluded to this. And it's important for you, in your mind, to answer a few questions. Like, what is this gig economy? Why should it matter to me if I own my business? Why should I care about it? What does it bring to me? Right? And if you're a gig worker, it says, why am I excited about doing this? Fundamentally, what are the opportunities for me to grow my passion and things that I do? So hopefully we'll answer some of these questions, and I'm going to talk about a subject that's really close to my heart, which is company culture. But let's begin today on a slightly different note. There is a new order of business around us. We're feeling this all around us. Even though we're here at Marina Bay Sands today, wonderful location, but there's something brewing around that we need to be aware of, right? So, I'm going to talk about three key forces that are coming together to create something very, very powerful. The first is rapid change. How many of you are feeling that stuff is moving very, very fast around you? Right? At work, personally, how many of you feel that you're getting overwhelmed with information, you need to change to do something, right? See a lot of hands going up there. It's real. We're in a new industrial age, and I think Darryl alluded to that. This is real. Change is everywhere, right? We have changed as consumers in the past few years. Look at the way we buy stuff. We have this device in our pocket, right? We hyper-research everything. We're not sold on advertising anymore the way it used to be. How many of you in the room here have watched a commercial and bought something in the last few months? Not a single hand goes up. I spoke to about 500 people a few weeks ago, not a single hand, and yet there are billions of dollars being spent on advertising. We're smarter as consumers, we're hyper-researching everything, we're internalizing things, we don't buy like we used to. We are forming our own impression in our minds about the way things are. So this is part of this change. It's not just the industrial change that's happening and technology and AI. It's we have changed as consumers as well. And that's what's driving a lot of this rapid transformation that we need to have in companies today. The next force, you can't walk into any conference today without hearing this word, right? Everybody's talking about disruption. Right now, if you have a traditional business and you've been running for a few years, there's 5 startups looking to disrupt that business. They're going to be making it faster, more efficient, and perhaps more evolved from what you're producing. So if you're an SME today, you're going to be waking up every day and say, how do I put myself out of business before somebody else does? You have to disrupt your own self every day. Otherwise, you can't survive as a business, right? Disrupt yourself first. Disruption is everywhere. This is real. And the third mega force is this massive shift in expectations. And what is this shift in expectations? It's really between what employees want from work and what companies offer. Huge rift. Because we are moving into a very interesting world. Our workforce is aging. Singapore has one of the fastest aging populations in the world, and a new millennial workforce is moving into the industry. And so, what millennials want, what the younger generation wants from work, is very different from our generation wanted from work. Well, they're looking for meaning. They're looking for substance. They're looking to feel appreciated. They're looking for something they want to contribute to more and bigger than just work. And companies are not offering this. Companies today are just offering jobs, and they have a huge problem because of that. There's a huge shift in expectations. You get it? Right? This was a Gallup poll done last year. 85% of the workforce around the world is disengaged at work. That's scary, isn't it? I mean, if you look around our CBD, the gleaming office towers and the lovely skyscrapers in Singapore, Probably 85% of people right now working are updating their Facebook status. Maybe not. Singapore does a lot better, by the way, just so you know, right? But this is the reality. Only 15% of people at work are engaged. And something needs to be done about this. I mean, this is a huge mismatch in understanding. This was done by JobStreet earlier this year. 45% of Singaporeans are unhappy at work. We have a problem here, guys. And if you take the 10% that were neutral in this study, that's up to 55% of people who are really kind of unhappy at work. And so, what needs to be done here? We have three powerful forces that are coming together. These are not the winds of change. These are the forces. This is massive. And they're coming together, and hopefully you can admire my fantastic animation that I've done here. Three powerful forces coming together, right, to form something called the perfect storm. And if you're not waking up to this new reality as an SME or a business as a whole, you will be wiped out. You will be engulfed. I'm sorry, I don't bring a lot of good news, but there is good news later. And that, my friends, comes down ultimately to something called company culture, right? Do you have the right culture? Do you even understand culture? And why is it important for us today to think about? Now, most successful companies have figured this out. And I used to work for great companies, Walt Disney Television, part of the Walt Disney Group, and Sony Pictures. And these companies have culture playbooks. They have figured this out. That's why they're successful. But most businesses don't. When you have your culture right, it fixes a few things that we're all concerned about here in the room. Number one, how do we attract and retain top talent? Today, that's a huge challenge. How do you get the right people to work for you? Right? Everyone's fighting for top talent. How do you get them? And more importantly, how do you retain them, right? Once we get them on board. How do you lead versus react to change? If you're reacting to change, it's already too late. And we talked about innovation. We're talking about creativity, right? Where does it come from, my friends? I meet CEOs and I do a lot of consulting work and helping people transform their companies through their culture and branding and marketing. And they say, we want to be innovative. Ashok, can you help us be innovative? I said, do you have the right culture for being innovative? Are you empowering people to fail? Failing, if you fail at your work, is counterculture in Asia. You can't go to your boss and say, sorry boss, I failed. You're probably out of your job. It's okay to fail. You don't keep failing continuously because that's, I believe, the definition of insanity. I mean, you don't do that, right? You move on. But you have to have a powerful system in there, empowering people to fail. Innovation, definitely. You have to stay ahead. Your product has to evolve. You're only good as your last version of your product. If you're stuck at 2.0, in 4 months' time, someone is going to come up with the 3.0 version of your product. They'll make it faster, they'll make it cheaper, and you're gone. So you have to have an innovative sense within the company. Goes back to your culture. And this is the one that positions you for success. You got your culture right. You're attracting the best talent. You're motivating them. You're firing them up. You're creating something called passion in your company, right? Which I find which is thrown around a lot. We want passion, passion. Do you have the right culture to be able to set it? And that's why a lot of my work is in that space. So fundamentally, what is company culture? Right? And it's really this huge thing that sits under the iceberg. From a company perspective, we generally see the strategies and the tactics. That's what's obvious. But culture is this energy that sits under the company. And whether you like it or not, you have some kind of a culture already. Right? So today's talk is about how can you take control of this culture? How can you organize it? How can you build it to your advantage? Because oftentimes, people don't even figure culture out, right? I don't even know what this is. We're running around as leaders of our companies, putting out fires every day, the day-to-day running. I call it busyness. It's not business, it's busyness that keeps us out and going. We're losing touch. Who's supposed to be setting this vision and the purpose of the company? It's you guys as leaders, right? And that comes from, a lot of it is about the culture today. We're missing a big chunk of our work and business here. So if you want a clear definition, it's really about the belief system. A bunch of people get together and say, we believe in something, and this is how we're going to run our company. It's fundamentally what I call the operating system of your business. It's the Windows to a PC. You don't have your operating system right, you can't function well as a business. You're really letting everything go by chance. And most companies let culture to chance, and it happens, and they haven't had any control of it. And so it consumes and drags, and you create toxic environments that drag companies down. Today is about the gig economy, and we're talking a lot about, these wonderful companies. I can get a designer in London to do something. I can get a fantastic software expert in Kazakhstan today. It doesn't matter. Hopefully his name is not Borat, right? But it's true. We can work with companies all over. But what does culture mean when you start bringing people into your company? When you have a transient group of workforce that's in and out of your company, right? Culture becomes very important. I'm just being very conservative here. 20 to 25% of the workforce will be freelancers. And that changes the texture of things around. It changes the way companies are going to be run, right? And you need to have a system in place to be able to either capitalize on this, but your current ways of running the companies are not going to work. You need a new system of evaluating talent, of empowering them to be who they are, but more importantly, you need to have a culture to be able to onboard these people and let them know who you are as a company, because you have new brand ambassadors that are coming in for a short time and who are going to go out to the outside world and talk about your company and something that you want to control. And today, people don't buy products and services. They buy into your brand. They buy into what your belief system is. And if you have people that are coming into your company and going out to the outside world and not saying good things, it's going to impact your business massively. Right? So you have to be careful. So if this is your company, and you decide to bring in people, and you have a certain color scheme of your company, your color and texture can change because you're bringing in people from a different, perhaps, culture or different belief system. So here's where you need to create alignment. You have to create alignment within your company. In the book, I have a system. It took me a few years to refine this. I said, most SMEs are not going to figure out this whole culture piece, right? So what if there's a simple system, an effective way to build your culture today and fast track it, yes? Now, let's be realistic here. You can't really fast track culture, but you can build the foundations that builds a great culture. So in the book, I talk about my ADCO process. And it's a 7-step. I can't, in the interest of time, I would like to share everything with you, but I can only do a couple of things. So this is my simple blueprint for cultural transformation today, which will position you for success. Successful companies know who they are, okay, at their core. And this is starting with your purpose. And purpose is not about making money. Money is a byproduct of having a very deep sense of purpose. If you look at most of these companies today, their purpose statements are all benefit statements. They bring something beyond their product and service to the world. So you need to have a deep purpose, and I help companies figure that thing out. A lot of times businesses have started, but they haven't been able to leverage this on further. So going back to your soul, asking the question, why do I exist as a business? What is the benefit I bring to the world? That is powerful. It aligns people internally, and it'll attract all amazing people to you, having a strong sense of purpose. I'm going to go through company code are your values. Now, every company I walk into, I see the same values: integrity, teamwork, respect. Those are given today. Every company has to have them. Come on. This is about defining your values a little deeper, going deeper and say, why are you unique? So your temp workers will be your company ambassadors, irrespective, right? Or not. They will go out to the outside world and talk about their experience in your company. And so today, nothing stays hidden. This is not Vegas, okay? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It doesn't happen in your company. It moves to something called Glassdoor. How many of you know about Glassdoor? This is everything about your companies here. Hopefully there are good things being said. Onboarding becomes absolutely crucial, because you have people coming in from the outside, from the gig economy. You want to make sure that your voice, your brand voice, your company is represented correctly, especially if you're putting people in touch with your customers. You need to have this figured out. You need to have your template figured out. It's time to rethink culture. And what is the future of work? The future of work, really, is about reimagining the way we do things. It's about older workers coexisting with younger workers. And what does that mean from an HR perspective, and benefits and processes? This is real. We have an aging population. We have people expected to work into their late 60s, working together with 20-year-olds. How do you manage this? How does a 35-year-old manager manage an older worker, a younger? These are real things. We have to figure this out. So think about the most important thing that you're probably not thinking about, your company culture. My dream and my purpose is to help build a better business world, right? I want to help companies really figure out their purpose, really figure out, be amazing. I want to help companies create workplaces that employees love, customers adore, and the world admires. That's been my passion, it's my dream, and that's the basis of my work today. Thank you very much.